Welcome to the Amicable Divorce Network podcast. My name is Tracy Ann Moore Grant, and I'm the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. Our podcast is here to educate those before, during, and after divorce, as well as divorce professionals, about all of the issues that impact a family law case. We are here to educate you about difficult topics, provide you new information, and also give solutions for how to navigate all of the issues in family law and still bring your family law case to an efficient conclusion. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Amicable Divorce Network podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Ann Moore Grant, and I am the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. I am joined today by Michele Traina, who you may already know if you are listening to divorce podcasts or out there looking at social media. She is a stand-up comedian, I would say, is how I know her best, and she has a really funny show that she does that is the Divorce Diaries, and this has now been turned into a show on Amazon Prime, and so you can check that out, and is also an entertainment brand. She does a live version of the Divorce Diaries on tour throughout the country. You can always catch her, and so sometimes when you're going through a divorce, it's nice to know that somebody went through the same thing and have a little bit of a chuckle, and so that's what Michele is definitely doing. Michele, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tracy. I'm very excited.
Spoiler alert, you're divorced.
Yes. Almost 10 years.
Wow. Were you in the comedy space before getting divorced?
Yes. So I would say I was in the improv comedy space in my right out of college. Actually, I started improv in college, and then I continued to study improv at Upright Citizens Brigade in New York City, and I loved it. So I didn't start doing stand-up till I was in the process, or actually until I got divorced.
Mm-hmm. So what about your divorce prompted you into this new space?
I always, even when I was married, I'm an actor. I studied theater in college. It was my degree. I live and breathe through performance. That's how I operate, and dance. So I've always created from my life. And when I was married, I created a one-woman show called How to Be a Successful Teacher, because I was teaching in a very hard, rough environment, and I created from it. And then when I got divorced, I created Divorce Diaries as a one-woman play. And then I started going into stand-up, and then I turned it into a one-woman comedy show.
Gotcha. So people have quite a reaction to this, and it's positive. People love it, and you do great with your shows and your jokes. What do you feel about this resonates with people?
I think the feeling of loss, rejection, acceptance, those themes can resonate with anyone, whether you're divorced, married, or single.
So, and you're touching on the psychological stages of divorce, which are similar to somebody going through a death. And so people really relate to that when they're like, oh, I had that same feeling or emotion.
And I'm now discovering that there's stages of not just grief, but also of the issues you may have that stem back to when you were a child, that you're still doing the same patterns in your 40s. Like, I've been divorced almost 10 years, but I'm just now uncovering issues I had that are causing me to lean a certain way in relationships. Gotcha. Had I stayed in a marriage that was not great, I would have probably not been a happy person. It's always a process.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talk very candidly about your marriage, your relationships. So how was that received by your former partners?
My ex-husband and I are on good terms, and like I know his fiance has watched my comedy special because he told me, so I'm like, oh, that's great. And it's my daughter's father, so I'm obviously, and it's my daughter's father, and I'm not here to bash my daughter's father. However, there are comical moments you've got to make fun of that are universal, right? Yeah. I'm sure he could make fun of the fact that I always say, I'm going to be there at 3 p.m. and I'm there at 4 p.m. I'm always late. And we can go back and forth. And the thing is, so I try to balance the well-received. I also like to keep the world separate if possible. But he seems to be a good sport of the humor of Divorce Diaries. But there's guys that I've done in the show that not so much.
Hmm.
And that's actually an ongoing conversation where if I do a bit on stage about a man that I dated, that I've interacted with, that had some kind of influence on how I feel, like if I feel rejected or bad about myself, I will turn that into a bit. Some guys like it, some don't. In fact, I just recently got unfollowed by somebody
Wow.
because I'm pretty sure he saw the bit I did about him,
Yeah.
based about him.
Yeah,
Fake.
loosely. Yeah. Allegedly, I think is what we attorneys say, allegedly. And so I had a part in a podcast easily 10, 15 years ago where I would go on and talk. I was single and I would go on and talk about dates and just the ick from people or the different things that dudes would do. And I found it had a really chilling effect on dating. If I told a guy, like, hey, I'll do this on the side, even though it wasn't even my name on the podcast, like they were like mortified by that. Do you find that as a negative in dating?
I'm really happy to hear this because I do feel like people say this to me all the time, but then I'm like, no, it can't be that.
Yeah.
I do feel that this is a thing. And I think that they're afraid of being exposed for an insecurity they have,
Hmm.
um, or that people are going to find out who they are, or it's just, yeah, I have experienced that.
Yeah.
But
Interesting, because that always makes me think now about Taylor Swift. I can usually bring anything back to Taylor Swift when she was
yes.
interviewed. Like, do you think men won't want to date you because you write these songs about them? And then she's, men shouldn't do bad things. So it's, if you don't do anything for me to make a joke about or talk about, then we're golden. So it is, what do you expect to do that you don't want to be exposed in a way?
So I always say this, I can create from my experiences, from my perspective. I am a performer. And when someone says to me, oh, what do you man bash? I respond now with a joke that says, I'm taking applications actually. I want
Yeah.
to find love of my life. I
Yeah.
want the love of my life. I am a woman that loves men in a romantic way, but don't, don't, am I allowed to say F around?
Sure.
Or no? Okay. Don't F around because you're going to find out. Because
Exactly.
you don't poke a bear when you already know, listen, this is who I am. I will say that I'm working in therapy right now on the two-sided fence of, okay, this guy just unfollowed me. I should not care because I put the bid out there knowing, but
Hmm.
now I care. So I don't know. It's a catch-22. It's a balance. You have to really own who you are and accept that this is who I am. I'm not trying to hurt people maliciously, but I can create for my life. I freedom of speech, artistic
Yeah.
ability, etc.
And I wouldn't care about the unfollow, just throwing that out there. So
Thank you.
the
Thank you.
right person wouldn't care. They would probably find humor in what you did and they would get it and they'd be laughing along with you. And that's just
Well,
the energy that you need, right?
can I ask you as a lawyer? Let me ask you from with the lawyer hat on. And so he had found it funny
Mm-hmm.
because he's seen some of my bits about the situation and he's like, aha, that's really good. Then I added a new bit. We haven't talked in months because I saw a picture on his Instagram story with a new woman after he said he's not looking for a relationship. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like a younger woman. So I did a bit on stage about it and about how I felt. And my therapist was like, and he took the pictures down of the woman.
Okay.
So do you feel like I went too far?
No, he put it out there. And I think, no, no, I don't. Of course, I would take it probably incredibly far myself. But I think, no, I don't think that you did anything wrong there, especially from what he was saying. And if he was perfectly fine to move on with a younger model, then that really wasn't his problem, right?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So
Valid.
check mark. So what advice would you give to somebody who is like, I'm getting a divorce. Like I know that this is coming down the line. It's just a matter of a month or two, just getting my ducks in a row. What advice would you give them at that moment in time?
Do it. I mean, as simple as that, do it.
Yeah.
Don't wait. If you have to wait for logistics, fine,
Hmm.
but do it and then find the purpose that you really want to head towards. Like in other words, I lost myself during my marriage and I changed careers. I shifted so much about my persona and that was on me. So what I would say to that person is write out what you want in the next 5 years from the bottom of your soul, and
Hmm.
don't make any excuses as to why you can't go towards it.
Yeah, that's great. I go through an exercise with clients that's similar, and it's yours talking more of a existential, what do you want, your life to be like? What are your goals, a new career? I do something with clients where I say, what do you want things to look like when this is over, a year after that, 5 years after that? And are we making choices through the divorce process that supports those decisions, like moving, living in a new house, like not having this job that you have now, like whatever it is. So I think that's a good partnership together. You get along well with your ex, but I'm sure you have jokes about co-parenting.
Oh, yeah. I think that some things that we joke about was this is toilet seat. He's an engineer and I think he's very smart. He's put stuff together like at the drop of a hat. He's so smart, my ex-husband. And I joke with him. I'm like, why is your toilet seat broken again?
Yeah.
And like I said to him, I'm like, this is a joke. Like I gotta find a material about it. And there's another joke I do about I bought him a lottery ticket for Christmas and he won
A lot?
a good amount of money. And I kind of was like, dang. And then the irony is the money came back to me because
Yeah.
it wasn't his fault. Like what ended up happening was in the state of New Jersey, there's a probation where you take the money out of the paycheck so he doesn't have to deal with it. His
Okay.
the work didn't take out the increase by whoever's in charge of that didn't do it. So the
Hmm.
state was like collecting arrears and he was like, I don't owe money. It's not my. So it was ironic. And we said, all right, so I'm going to take that money and buy our daughter a pool pass for the summer. So we made light of it and put it towards our daughter in.
Yeah, that's good. I think also to have perspective, some people they just we get so upset about what you're talking about, not adjusting the money and that sounds like it was out of his control. You
Oh
really have
yeah.
to have good perspective about things. You can only control what you can. He can only control what he can and look for some reasonable solutions on things. You can't sweat all the stuff.
No, and I do feel like we have come to a place where it is like decent. We still hit bumps,
Hmm.
but
Sure.
I'm grateful that we're not in a place that some people are communicating just through a co-parenting app.
Oh, yeah, that's very common and isn't the best for kids. Parents need to coordinate things in real time. And I've seen kids, it really impacts them emotionally when they see that tension with the parents.
100%.
Yeah, now that my stepkids are older, they talk about, oh, their friends' divorced parents and they're the high conflict ones and they have to bring their bag to school and just weird things like that. The things that they pick up on that are important to kids.
What I'm happy about is that my daughter has always said, I just don't I don't know my parents to be fighting.
Yeah.
And I think that was the goal for me was like, I just don't want her to be seeing mommy and daddy fight and then connected to that concept and then we're broken apart. Because she was
Hmm.
so young when we divorced. She was 20 months old. We
Yeah.
separated. So
Hmm.
I felt like it was helpful in that sense for her not
Hmm.
to have to get connected to the idea of these two are my parents. I think honestly, I think subconsciously kids always want to see their parents together
Yeah.
because there was moments where she's like, yeah, but maybe you'll fall back in love with my daddy. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, you got to explain
Yeah.
it when they're kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very primal desire. I think that's very natural for kids just to want that. And I don't think that's terrible by any means. Of course, that would be their ideal, but creating a healthy alternative is second best. So sounds like you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're
Yes, and
welcome.
I get along with my ex's fiance. She's very lovely and like I have to be grateful that like she shows me love and shows like and expresses that and says how much
Hmm.
she feels like I'm family and I have to be honest, that's a really great thing to have because not everybody has that.
Yeah, you're very lucky to have that. That is
Yes,
unusual.
it is. It
Yeah.
is.
So, yeah, treasure that. So tell us, let's just take a little diversion. Tell us about the show on Amazon.
Divorce Diaries talks about my post-divorce journey as a single mom, a teacher, teaching kids with special needs, dating men with special needs. As funny as that or weird that might sound, it's about
Hmm.
my life in this
Yeah.
chaos of being a comedian, trying to get back onto my performing career, being a mom and competing with the school moms and their perfect isms and trying to find a network for the show and find a boyfriend that I fall in love with and keep
Hmm.
up for my daughter. And this like chaos is in a mockumentary form, like The Office meets like American Mom on amphetamines. That's what.
Yeah.
So it's on Prime Video, the pilot, and then you could also watch the live version of the show, which is my one woman show. There's the comedy special filmed in Chicago 2 years ago, so you could also watch that one. But
Mhm.
the pilot is my baby. This is what I've been wanting to get out there for so long. It's
Mhm.
based on the material I do in the live show. So if you think of like Seinfeld meets Parks and Rec type thing, that's
Nice.
what we're going.
Yeah. Perfect. And the live show, are you touring now? What's coming up in 2025, the end of 2024? Tell us about it.
So ironically, today I got a call that I got to rebook Atlanta. So I'm
Yeah.
coming back to Atlanta in 25.
Nice.
And I will be ending the year in Grantville, Pennsylvania, Laughing Stop Comedy Club, and then December 7th. And then December 19th, I am going to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Looney Bin Comedy Club. I'm very
Nice.
excited.
That's very fun. I'm glad you'll be back in Atlanta. You got to let us know so we can get our members out for.
I am going to be rebooking, like giving him the dates today. I have to send some dates out. So I will, hopefully it all works out. I know. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll, let's make it happen. I would say as far as in the divorce space, you're here to lend some insight mixed with some comedy and bring a little lightheartedness to the process and just create some connections for people and just a moment to be like, that was funny. Yeah, that happened to me too. That's cool.
Yeah, a big thing about my material and my mantra with my artistic lens when whatever I do, especially with Divorce Diaries, is that yes, I want to make people laugh, but I also want to make them feel heard.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah,
big
no, I think that's great. Divorce is a difficult process and certainly not making light of it. But I think also people really appreciate just an opportunity to have a chuckle. If you are loving what you're hearing and you want to see Michele, you already know that you can head over to Amazon, go to the search, do Divorce Diaries, and you'll be able to watch her live show as well as her pilot. And if people want to see if you're touring near them, how do they find you?
You go to divorcediariesshow.com or michelletraina.com and you can click on events and come see me.
And you will find her there. And if you're driving and you're like, I will never remember that, just click back on this episode and look in the show notes and it will all be there for you. So no need to have a car accident. Michele, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I always love seeing your comedy in this space. It always is so relatable and fun. And thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for having me, Tracy.
Absolutely. See you soon.